The story begins with three girls enjoying a party by the sea surrounded by beautiful ocean views. Everything seems perfect until they notice a strange green light in the sky. In an instant, the atmosphere shifts. One of the girls, Clara, rushes to check the boat controls, only to discover that all the electronic systems have stopped working. Meanwhile, her two friends suddenly collapse, and a chunk of ice falls from the sky. The scene abruptly shifts to a city in Argentina, where three people are protesting due to a prolonged power outage. Caught in traffic, a man named Juan visits his friend's house. There, we learn that a power substation has caught fire. Firefighters arrive and bring the situation under control, so Juan relaxes and begins playing poker with his friend. But mid-game, the lights go out again. When they try to use their phones for light, those don't work either. Outside, the sound of loud explosions adds to the growing sense of fear. The owner of the house steps out to investigate and sees the garage watchman unconscious on the ground. From the sky, strange icy particles begin falling, even though it's the middle of summer. Suspecting it could be toxic asbestos dust from a nearby factory, she decides no one should go outside. Everyone chooses to stay indoors and seal the doors and windows for safety. Despite warnings, a man named Russo insists on leaving to check on his family. He wraps a jacket over his head and ventures outside. But just a few steps from the house, he comes into contact with the falling snow and dies instantly. The others watch in horror. The poisonous snow begins spreading throughout the city. After some time, Juan and the others hear a knock at the door. They cautiously open it and let in a young woman, a delivery girl, who found her way there thanks to the garage watchman. Worried about his own family, Juan decides he must reach his home. After seeing the delivery girl safe and unaffected, he realizes that if the toxic snow doesn't touch your skin, survival is possible. So he covers his head with a plastic sheet and carefully sneaks out to grab his car keys. But despite all his effort, the car won't start. They finally realize the strange green light in the sky was an electromagnetic pulse, EMP, which knocked out all electronics, including phones, vehicles, and lights. The group is shaken. Suddenly, they notice a light glowing in the house across the street. At the window stands an elderly man, completely unaware of the danger. As his friends try to warn him, he opens the window, only to be killed within seconds by the toxic snow. His wife rushes to check on him and tragically meets the same fate. As daylight breaks, Juan becomes more desperate to reach home. He fears for his daughter, who usually goes out for morning walks. Despite his friends' objections, he insists on going. They finally agree and help him wear a waterproof suit and a gas mask to protect his body completely. With everything in place, Juan steps out. The snow can no longer harm him. As he walks through the city, the streets resemble a graveyard, bodies lying everywhere. Everyone exposed to the toxic snow is dead. He pushes forward through the cold winds, determined to reach his ex-wife's apartment where his daughter now lives. He chooses a shortcut via the railway tracks and comes across a train surrounded by corpses. Inside the train, he hears the cries of a few survivors begging for help. But Juan, unable to help without extra protection suits, signals that he can't save them. He offers them a bottle of water and moves on. Eventually, he reaches the apartment building. Water is leaking down the staircase, melting snow entering the structure. Juan removes his mask as he nears his ex-wife's flat. Inside, he finds people gathered, praying in silence. He rushes into the apartment, but it seems empty. Just then, a stranger enters and explains that Juan's ex-wife had asked him to bring medicine. Juan notices snow on his own hand and begins to panic, fearing he's infected. Just then, Elena, his ex-wife, arrives and quickly locks the door, sending everyone else out. She explains that Clara had gone partying with her friends by the sea, and now she has no idea where she is, or who her friends even were, which makes finding Clara extremely difficult. Juan is frustrated by Elena's lack of urgency, but instead of arguing, he encourages her to stay strong in these dark times. Juan then decides to go to Clara's school to gather information about her friends, as school records might help. Before they can leave, there's a loud knock at the door. A crowd has gathered, asking Juan how he survived the poisonous snow. He explains that he used a gas mask and full-body protection. One bald man in the crowd becomes aggressive, demanding Juan give him his mask, because they need to retrieve supplies like bottled water from the supermarket. But Juan has one goal: to find Clara, and he needs the mask for that. The bald man suddenly points a gun at Juan and forces him to come along. But just then, he opens fire on Juan. Reacting quickly, Juan grabs Elena and rushes into a nearby apartment, blocking the door with a cupboard. He helps Elena put on the gas mask and waterproof jacket and sends her away in a car so she can go search for Clara. After Elena leaves, the bald man breaks down the door with a group of others. Seeing this, Juan wraps his face in plastic, wears gloves, and escapes through a broken window. But the toxic snow starts entering the apartment, forcing everyone else to flee in panic. Outside, Juan struggles to breathe due to the plastic covering and collapses unconscious. When he regains consciousness, he finds himself inside a car with Elena and his friends. After Juan left earlier, his friends had decided to fix the delivery girl's bicycle so she could return home in full protective gear. While doing so, Favali noticed that old equipment wasn't affected by the electromagnetic pulse. Realizing this, he took the others to a fire station where they all suited up in protective gear. On the way, they ran into Elena and also found Juan unconscious on the ground, bringing everyone back together. Unaware that fireballs were now raining from the sky, the group returned to Favali's home. Juan tried calling for help using a walkie-talkie, but there was no response. Lucas suggested they should leave the area for safety, but Juan refused to go anywhere without his daughter. Juan and Elena asked Favali for his car so they could go to Clara's school, but Favali, calling it their last hope, refused to give it. So Juan and Elena began the journey on foot. Once they reached the school, they searched for student records to find clues about Clara's friends. Suddenly, Juan has a vision of Clara surrounded by fire. When he comes to, he's inside a car. Meanwhile, Elena, horrified by the sight of dead students in the school, hears a noise from behind a door. Peeking inside, she finds a terrified boy locked inside and screaming for help. Juan arrives just in time to rescue the boy, who was locked up by his own friend. When he sees his friends turned into corpses, the boy is shaken. Elena questions him about Clara, but he doesn't know anything, though he does recognize a girl named Sarah who is with Clara. He agrees to help them find Sarah's house, but only if Juan drops him at his own house first. Juan agrees, and they head to Sarah's place. Wearing protective suits, Juan and Elena knock politely at the door, but when no one answers, they break in to search. They soon discover an entire family frozen in the snow. The boy sitting in the car begins crying because he had lied. This was his house, not Sarah's. Angry at the boy's deceit, Juan almost loses his temper, but Elena calms him down. The boy, devastated by his family's death, becomes feverish. So Juan and Elena take him to a pharmacy to get medicine. Just then, a pregnant woman knocks at the door, begging for help. Letting her in was risky, but Elena, seeing her condition, allows it. However, the woman pulls a gun on them and signals her partner, who enters from another door. The two robbers lock Juan and Elena inside a room, steal the medicine, and take the car keys. Luckily, the boy wasn't locked in and helps free them. Now, the three decide to continue on foot, trekking through the deadly snowfall. When they reach the railway tracks, Juan notices something disturbing. The corpses that were there earlier are now gone. Only their belongings remain. Where did they go? Curious and alarmed, Juan approaches the train, but what he sees leaves him speechless. The train car that had been full of survivors is now empty. The seats are twisted, metal rods bent, as if something with immense power had torn through the place. Shocked, they return to Favali's house and find him preparing to leave. Just hours ago, he had planned to stay, hoping for rescue. Now, he explains that a wireless signal from Brazil reported the same conditions there, confirming that this crisis is global. There would be no help coming. Favali decides to head to his island home. The others agree to go with him, but Juan refuses to leave without finding Clara. Meanwhile, we see the two robbers at a gas station, sitting in their stolen car. When one of them steps out to refuel, he sees a strange shadow. Suddenly, a force attacks their vehicle and pushes it into a ravine. The next morning, Favali prepares to leave for the island with the group, but Juan sneaks away to the communication center to find Sarah's address. On the way back, a car pulls up, and it's Favali. He offers to help Juan find Clara. While driving, Favali explains that the Earth's magnetic field is collapsing due to the toxic snowfall, and the entire world is now in danger. Soon, their path is blocked by a pileup of cars, as if someone wanted to stop them. One of the cars still has its lights on. Just as they're deciding what to do, a military truck arrives, full of soldiers. They claim they're under government orders to locate and escort survivors to safety camps. The soldiers promise to help, but Juan doesn't trust them. To find out their true intentions, he begins inspecting their vehicle. Juan begins following the soldiers, but as soon as they enter the tunnel, they are ambushed by giant insect-like creatures. The horrifying beasts tear the soldiers apart, leaving no trace behind. When Juan and Favali arrive moments later, they find nothing but bloodstains. No sign of the soldiers. Juan, now extra cautious, picks up a gun from the ground for protection. As they proceed through the tunnel, they notice some movement. Hiding quickly, they witness a monstrous bug dragging a human corpse into a dark hole. The sight is terrifying, and they attempt to flee quietly, but Favali accidentally bumps into a trash bin. The noise alerts the creature, which charges out of the hole. Juan fires at it, but the bullets barely affect it. Only when he shoots the unarmored part of its head does the creature finally fall dead. But the sound of gunfire draws more bugs toward them. Suddenly, a stranger signals to them to follow. They run after him and reach a nearby tower, but the main door is locked. As the bugs approach, fireballs begin falling from above, scaring the creatures away just in time. Juan and Favali sneak inside through a back entrance and find a group of survivors huddled inside. Juan asks the people about the bugs, and an elderly man points toward the sky. Looking up, Juan sees fireballs falling and turning into the insect tunnels upon impact. It's now clear, this is an alien invasion. The aliens are using the bugs to hunt and kill humans. Realizing the danger, Juan urges everyone to evacuate the tower quickly before the creatures start climbing the walls. Everyone runs with him, but one disabled man chooses to stay behind. He tells them about the government safe camps and guides them toward a flyover nearby. Their path is blocked by a massive pileup of cars. One of the survivors finds a secret path by breaking through a wall. They all pass through it just as morning breaks, and the creatures begin closing in. Juan, meanwhile, is stuck inside a bus, trying to save a mother and her child. Just as a creature nears, the disabled man rings a bell from the tower, distracting the bugs. Using this opportunity, Juan escapes with the others. Back in the tower, the disabled man douses the place in gasoline and sets it ablaze, sacrificing himself to stop the bugs. Meanwhile, Juan and the others try to start a working vehicle, but the noise attracts another creature. Juan fires his gun as the others pile into the car, and they manage to drive away. From a distance, they watch the tower engulfed in flames, realizing everyone inside has perished. They drive safely toward the camps, but Juan still can't stop worrying about his daughter. So he parts ways with the group and heads alone toward Favali's house. Along the way, he sees locals guarding roads against the bugs. When he finally reaches the house, he's stunned to see Clara asleep inside. Juan questions Elena. "Where did you find her?" With tears in her eyes, Elena replies, "We didn't find her. She found us." Favali now decides to take everyone to his island home, but with only one vehicle and many people, it becomes a problem. Just then, a neighbor offers his car in exchange for using Favali's garage as a base. Though hesitant, Favali agrees, knowing this place isn't safe anymore. They divide into two vehicles and begin their journey to the island. But as they approach the docks, they find the entire ocean dried up into barren land. Realizing the island is no longer safe, they turn their vehicles toward the government camps instead. Along the road, they find a dead police officer, clearly killed by a human, not a bug. Elena becomes concerned about Clara's strange behavior. Clara doesn't even remember how she reached them. Eventually, they arrive at a supermarket where a crowd has gathered. A man invites them inside, where many survivors have found shelter and stockpiled food. That night, everyone finally eats a full meal. Juan overhears something disturbing, rumors that escaped convicts are killing people. This leaves him uneasy. Meanwhile, Lucas sneaks into a quiet section of the supermarket searching for alcohol. As he picks up a bottle, he hears something strange outside. The next morning, Juan wakes to chaos. People are running around in panic. He steps outside and sees the snowfall has stopped and the sun is finally shining. Everyone begins celebrating, but Favali notices something strange. The directions on his compass have shifted. The Earth's magnetic field has changed. Another sign of danger. Elena asks about Lucas. A friend goes inside the supermarket looking for him, but finds only the alcohol bottle. Lucas has vanished. Just then, a car screeches to a halt outside. Three attackers jump out and start shooting indiscriminately. Hearing the commotion, Juan runs outside. Elena shouts that Clara is still out there. Juan races out and manages to shoot down two of the attackers. The third one hides. When Juan inspects the face of one attacker, he's shocked. It's a woman wearing a child's locket. A mother killing survivors? Just then, a military truck arrives. Soldiers step out, and to everyone's surprise, Lucas is with them. Juan, Elena, Clara, and the remaining survivors board the trucks and head toward the government camps. On the way, people ask Lucas where he had disappeared. Lucas replies, "I passed out after drinking. In the morning, soldiers found me and brought me back." But something about his story doesn't sit right with Juan. His instincts tell him something is still terribly wrong. On the other side, we see the third attacker calmly walking into the insect tunnel. Strangely, none of the bugs harm him. Meanwhile, 3 days later, the remaining survivors finally reach the camp. A high-ranking officer asks Favali to repair a wireless transmitter. Lucas had told the officer that Favali was skilled with electronics, but Favali, sensing the danger, pretends to be unwell and avoids the task. Lucas tells Juan that Favali is deliberately avoiding the repair. The officer wants him to go to the city center, set up the transmitter, and call out to any remaining survivors. But Favali knows that once someone enters that area, no one comes back. Just then, more survivors are brought to the camp, including Favali's neighbor, to whom he had given his garage. He's the only one left from his group. That night, Juan convinces Favali to take the risk. This mission could save many lives. Favali finally agrees and repairs the transmitter. The next morning, a large group sets off on this dangerous journey. As they move through the city, they spot a few cargo planes flying above, still trying to rescue people. Soon, the team reaches a railway station. While some members stay on guard, others work to attach weapons to the train. Once ready, everyone boards and the train begins moving forward. But soon, they find a derailed train blocking the tracks ahead. Refusing to give up, the team suits up in protective gear, clears the obstruction, and keeps moving. There's a sense of hope until they reach the city and realize the route is completely destroyed. They are forced to go on foot from there. Along the way, they find a cargo plane wrecked on the ground, completely destroyed. But by what? No one knows. They finally reach the target location and split into 3 teams. One group climbs up to set the transmitter, the second stays to guard, and the third investigates the downed transport vehicle. Inside the wreckage, they find bombs. Just then, they spot a child nearby. As they move toward him, armed strangers appear from the rooftop, aiming weapons at them. Back upstairs, Favali successfully activates the transmitter and broadcasts a message urging all survivors to come to the camp. The camp members hear this and cheer with joy. Favali sets the broadcast to repeat every 5 minutes and prepares to leave with the team. Suddenly, they see a strange blue glow coming from the distant sports hall. Juan suggests sending a team to check it out, but the officer refuses. No one who's gone there has ever come back. That night, Juan and Lucas are playing cards. But Lucas begins behaving strangely. He forgets basic rules, and when the others tease him, he stabs one of them and runs away. Juan chases him, only to find Lucas standing on the building rooftop, staring at the blue light. Lucas says, "My mission is complete," and jumps to his death. Juan and his teammates hide and see a group of people approaching. One of them points toward Juan and yells for the others to catch him. The team rushes back to the train, but only 5 or 6 out of 20 people survive. Instead of reporting to the camp, Juan heads to the sports hall. There he sees a crowd mesmerized by the glowing blue light, and among them is Clara. Suddenly, a bizarre hand with multiple fingers emerges from the light and makes a strange gesture. Some people respond and quietly walk away. Juan realizes the horrifying truth. The aliens are controlling human minds, and even the government camps are a trap. The blue light is their method of brainwashing. But Juan isn't affected. Why? Because he possesses the eternal element, a rare gift that allows him to travel through time. With everyone else now under alien control, Juan is the last human left with free will. He travels back in time to stop the alien plan, but in doing so, he loses everything. And that's where this gripping, terrifying series comes to an end. If this series and our hard work moved you, then do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss our upcoming videos. If you had the power to go back in time, would you save the world or save your loved ones? See you in the next video. Till then, bye-bye and take care.